Good evening and welcome to the regular session of council. It is a special meeting tonight, actually. It's heard from last Thursday and the weather. It is Thursday, December 12th, 2024, 7 p.m. And I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Done. Any items not listed on the agenda tonight?
Not tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. This evening's announcements. Thomas, you had one.
I have a couple tonight, Mr. Mayor. So I want to remind everybody about the Christmas office closure, that the municipal office will be closed between June on December the 24th until 8:30 in the morning on January the 2nd of 2025. And for the second announcement, I just want to remind everybody that for 2024 bag tags in Bayham, our bag tags do expire. I understand there may be some conflicting information out there as Malahide has transitioned to a non-expiring tag. Ours still do expire. 2025 bag tags are available right now in the municipal office.
Thank you for that. Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone of the Stratfordville Santa Claus Parade on Saturday, December 14th. That's this Saturday coming. Parade's at 10:30. Be there at 10 o'clock if you want to participate. Apparently, they are still looking for some reindeer to pull Santa's sleigh. So if you have any kids that want to put on a costume and be part of the parade, please come to the SCC. And also the Bayham Fire Station number 2 will be collecting non-perishable, non-expired food items for the food drive. So if you can donate, please do.
All right, thank you for that. Any announcements to my right? All right, I have one simply because he's present in the room tonight. I want to recognize Ed Rollison for achieving 30 years as a long-term service award for Municipality of Bayham. Thank you very much for your service, Ed. I won't embarrass him and make him get up and give us a speech.
Oh, he has great speeches.
He does, yep. But I think he'll be speaking with us later. There are no presentations this evening or delegations. Let's move on with section 7, adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting, which include the regular meeting minutes for November the 21st. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none noted, then I would entertain a mover and seconder for the following: that the minutes from the regular meeting of council held November the 21st, 2024 be approved as presented. Deputy Mayor Weiser will move and Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I'm going down the agenda to section 11, physical services and emergency services. 11.2 reports to council. We have item A, report PS 1524 by Ed Rollison, the manager of capital projects and water, wastewater regarding Ontario Regulation 45307, Municipality of Bayham Water System Financial Plan. Good evening, Mr. Rollison.
Good evening, your worship and members of council.
Hold. Are we good? Okay. Blinked out there for a minute. Please proceed.
Good evening, your worship, members of council. First off, thank you for the kind words regarding my years of service. Greatly appreciate all this current council and past council support. 30 years, it's been quite a run. The report before you this evening specifically related to Ontario Reg 45307 regarding water system financial plans. Just a bit of background information. Under the Safe Drinking Water Act, Reg 45307 requires the preparation and approval of financial plans for any drinking water system for which a person is seeking a license. Council will recall both the Bayham and Richmond water systems are up for license renewal. Council also recall that on September 5th, we received a presentation from Watson and Associates regarding 6 financial options for Bayham's water system to comprise the 2024 to 2033 water wastewater rates need study. The study provided the basis for the water system financial plan, and as such, council passed the resolution as you see before you there. Further discussions, the Municipality of Bayham Water System Financial Plan 061-301A dated November 18th, 2024, as prepared by Watsons and Associates is attached for council's review. The financial plan will represent one of the key required elements for the municipality to obtain their municipal drinking water system license. Financial plan is considered a living document. However, it is required to be updated every 5 years. Just to reiterate, this is the last component for our drinking water system licenses. Council may also recall that we were granted an extension till December 31st of this year, as we were moving through with the best solutions and options that were presented to council rather for the betterment of our water systems. So with that, your worship, we have the attachments there from Watson and Associates, very straightforward, and the associated recommendations.
All right, thank you very much for that report, Ed. Moving down through the report. While I'm looking through, does anyone or any member of council have any questions for Mr. Wilson on this? Okay, this was fairly well debated last September. I think we still arrived at the right decision. And if there are no questions or comments, then we have a motion before us that reads that report PS 1524 regarding Ontario Regulation 45307 Municipal Water System Financial Plan be received for information. And that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Bayham approves the Municipality of Bayham Water System Financial Plan as prepared by Watson and Associate Economists Limited as dated November the 18th, 2024. And that staff be directed to submit the Municipality of Bayham Water System Financial Plan by no later than December 31st, 2024 to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, as well as the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, satisfying the requirements set out in the Safe Drinking Water Act 2002, and that the Municipality of Bayham Water System Financial Plan be made available for public viewing on the municipality's website. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? I'll take Deputy Mayor Weisler and Councillor Emerson. All in favor for that? That is carried. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Item B, we have report BL 0724 by Mark Russell, bylaw enforcement officer regarding appointment of parking enforcement officers. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening. Good evening, your worship and council. Before you have BL 0724 appointment the appointment of parking enforcement officers, Steve Adams and Jamie Pickley. Historically, overnight parking enforcement has been enforced by the public works manager, supervisor, as well as by law enforcement officers between 8 p.m. as bylaw hours are typically between 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. The manager of public works is in support of continuing this practice as they will be on the road already and they're aware of the problem areas. Bylaw will be training the appointed staff prior to deployment. Staff recommend that the appropriate appointed bylaw be brought forward to council for council consideration.
Okay, thank you for that, Mark. Questions for staff? I have one. With the appointment of the manager and the superintendent, will that permit the public works staff who happen to be on patrol the ability to issue or enforce parking?
Through your worship, the intention of the appointment bylaw is for the manager, Steve Adams and Jamie Pickley. If we would like to extend it out to the public works, we could do that.
Well, I was just wondering what staff comment would be on that?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the general practice here is that it has been the manager of public works that has been charged with this in the past. We don't currently have a formal bylaw doing the appointment. We'd recommend keeping the appointments at the managerial level rather than having all public works staff at this time. We have had this discussion between myself, Mark, and Steve, and are in agreement with that approach for this winter season that will allow us to evaluate its effectiveness and whether we have to change the approach potentially for the 2025-26 winter season. And this would be a best practice for us as during winter operations, either Steve or Jamie would already be in and on shift as of 3 or 3:30 in the morning. And as Mark has noted, current bylaw hours are approximately between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. So this would allow us an increased level of service and enforcement without having to expand staff complement.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for that. Any questions from any member of council? Councilor Emerson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with the appointment of staff to enforce parking, does that absolve you from bylaw parking enforcement?
No.
Or are you still involved in that?
Through your worship, no, bylaw enforcement can still go out and do enforcement as well.
Oh, will you?
Through your worship, if directed, I will be going out.
Okay. You're gonna direct him, right?
Yes, that is at my direction.
Did that answer your question, Counselor?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing no further discussion or questions, we have a motion that reads a report BL 0724 regarding appointment of parking enforcement officers be received for information. And that Steve Adams and Jamie Pilkey be appointed as bylaw enforcement officers for the purposes of enforcing overnight parking in accordance with municipalities' traffic and parking bylaw number 2016-038. And that the appropriate appointment bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weiser will move. Councilor Chilcott will second. Do we have? All in favor? There we go. It's carried. Thank you. Section 12, Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation, 12.1 correspondence, 12.1.1 to receive for information. There are 4 items. Item A, notice of public meeting regarding ZBA 2624 Weber. B, notice of public meeting regarding ZBA 2724 and OPA 0424 for 1498855 Ontario Inc., Emerson. Item C, notice of public meeting regarding ZBA 2824 Able. And item D, notice of public meeting regarding ZBA 2924 Gloin, excuse me. Any questions regarding any of these pieces of information? Motion to read that items 12.1.1 through D be received for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Pros, Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor? Yeah, it's appropriate. We don't have, there's no decision being made tonight. Moving on to section 13, Finance and Administration, 13.1 correspondence and 13.1.1 to receive for information. Item A, Township of Essa regarding a fair share of provincial and federal government financial support. Item B, Municipality of Wawa regarding Ontario Building Code. C, Township of Terrace Bay regarding ambulance shortages and healthcare systems issues. D, Township of Terrace Bay regarding Billy Bishop Airport Service. E, Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association regarding Billy Bishop Airport Service. F, Municipal Engineers Association regarding new Board of Directors. G, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding additional residential units. H, Elgin OPP Detachment Board regarding November 13th, 2024 draft minutes. I, Elgin County regarding November 26th, 2024 County Council highlights. J, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the November 6th, 2024 hearing board meeting minutes. K, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the November 6th, 2024 board meeting minutes. And L, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the November 13th, 2024 board budget meeting minutes. Does anyone wish to draw attention to or ask any questions regarding any of these pieces of correspondence? Councilor Emerson.
Mr. Mayor, I think if we haven't in the past, we should be supporting that. Hey,
Okay.
Fair share.
Yeah, fair share. 13A. Just want to bring it up quick, just to remind myself. There we go. All right, this is the land transfer tax. All right. I don't believe we have supported that in the past, have we?
I'd ask the clerk if she recalls. I don't believe we have.
I don't believe we have either yet.
Any other pieces? Yes, Councilor Froze?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Have we done G? More homes?
Additional residential units?
Yeah.
The correspondence, if I recall, was dealing with up here. The line in here that caught my attention most was the second last paragraph. I will not hesitate to use my available powers to ensure these changes to the Planning Act are allowed to support our goal of building more homes. Okay,
so
so essentially what they're talking about in the ARUs is eliminating some of the barriers such as maximum lot coverage, things like that. And if you recall from the notices earlier, we have some planning issues coming forward that talk about ARUs like being 74% of certain building sizes or whatever else. If the minister has his way and it makes it through the House, then that'll eliminate a lot of that.
so through you, then, if we oppose anything, it will just go to OLT or something, and then they'll override it anyway.
Pretty
Is
much,
that what that means?
pretty much. That be your interpretation too, Thomas?
That is my interpretation. I would,
It sounds like a warning more than anything.
Yep, it is.
So,
I'd suggest on this to council, if you'd like further information on some of the meaning around the language in the correspondence, and we can have that come back under a development services report if you'd like.
Probably a good idea.
yeah, otherwise we're gonna waste our time with the,
Yep.
with applications and stuff needlessly. Just get the old rubber stamp, but
Okay. Any other pieces of correspondence that anyone wants to draw their attention to? Resolution?
That items 13.11A through L be received for information, and that the municipality of BAM supports item 13.11A, and that staff be directed to report back with further information contained in the correspondence of item 13.11G.
Okay. Can I have a mover and second for that? Councilor Emerson, Councilor Froze. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 13.12. Item A, the Elgin OPP Detachment Board regarding request for contribution to the Elgin OPP Detachment Board during inaugural phase. Has everyone had opportunity to peruse that? There we go. Thomas, do you want to speak to this or?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I can speak to this really briefly. So this correspondence came in from the chair of the detachment board, Andrew Sloan. They are still establishing their protocols and their tools and frameworks per the correspondence. They have requested from each of the participating municipalities a $5,000 contribution. My understanding is that will go towards operational costs, particularly insurance and other professional services required to front run and support some of the establishing processes the board requires. As noted in the correspondence, if the municipality is willing to provide the $5,000 contribution at the front end, it will be reimbursed in 2025 by way of a deduction off of the invoice from the detachment board. So really, it's a request for $5,000, which is front running that 5,000. We'd be paying it either way. So staff have no concern with the request, and should council wish to proceed, then the direction would be to contribute that $5,000.
Okay, thank you for that, Thomas. Any concerns, questions? Trying to get the board up and established. Counselor Pros.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Having been on the board and being a member of the Bayham Council, when I was on the board, I got all kinds of people calling me about police issues. Never anybody from Malahide in 4 years, but from Bayham. And now we don't have a member there. Only the Malahide member is there. And where do the Bayham people call the Malahide guy? Or do we even, or lady or person, do we even know who they are? Right? So I want us to contribute money, but are we being fairly represented, I guess? I know we're small. I get it. But
Just the nature of the beast that we share a spot with our neighbor, and every other term, it'll either be a representative from Bayham or a representative from Malahide. And I can only assume under the new OPP detachment board system, it would be similar. I can only assume. I have no idea. We have yet to see those, see how the board parameters are gonna work.
So if through this, we give money. We give money without knowing what it's gonna be used for? Just to start the board, or,
It's for insurance.
and then do we have input on how the board's set up so that we have better representation? So we just give 5,000 for nothing? I guess that's probably the concern.
Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So back in 2021, 2022, when the new policing act was being compiled and considered at the provincial level, the Elgin Area Police Services Board at that time and membering municipalities had the opportunity to provide comment on board composition. The overarching decision was to keep the board composition the same, which, as the mayor has identified, means that alternating terms, Malahide would represent Malahide and Bayham, and then Bayham would represent Malahide and Bayham. So this term, the appointee for Malahide Bayham is Mayor Dominique Giguère from Malahide. This was something that I believe in 2023, there was correspondence received from Malahide, and Bayham did assent to that appointment. Per the correspondence, essentially recovering front run operational costs, including insurance, professional services, and legal fees, is identified. So if there are any questions or concerns about how that money is to be spent, that would be best directed to Bayham's representative on the detachment board.
Supplement.
Counselor?
Since it's called the Ontario Provincial Police, is the Ontario government contributing any money to establish this board, or just left on the municipalities?
That's a very good question. What do you think?
Probably not, but we should all send a letter to them and ask them for 5,000 chip in too. We get nicer desks for the people that are gonna work there or something.
I understand your frustration.
No, it's not frustration, it's
But,
just a comment. It's a fair comment too.
I thought we, a couple of weeks ago, were treated to a fairly unexpected subsidy from the province to cover up the increase that's coming to Bayham this year. So not so sure that the minister or the solicitor general is anxious to give service anymore.
The wallet's open, slide another $100 out of it. So,
Good try. Good try. What is interesting is the fact that, under the old model, Elgin County provided the administrative services for the police services department. Under the new model, that is yet to be determined who the administration is going to be. So I would assume that's what some of these fees are, is to get that board up and running. And as the administrator mentioned, that $5,000 front fee will be deducted off the final bill in 2025. Okay. What if you wanted to make a statement, turn it down?
And then pay it later.
Yes. Exactly. Counselor Chilcott.
So technically, we're just giving them an advancement.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. All right. Any other questions, discussion? You're having a lot of fun with it. All right. We have a motion that reads that the correspondence from the Elgin OPP Detachment Board regarding request for contribution to the Elgin OPP Detachment Board during inaugural phase be received for information, and that
Staff be directed to contribute $5,000 to the Elgin OPP Detachment Board.
we have a mover and seconder for that. I see Counselor Chilcott will move and Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item B. The Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the 2025 draft budget. Correspondence was included. We happen to have without putting her on the spot, member of the Long Point Region Conservation Authority Board. Any comments you would care to share, Deputy Mayor?
I'll thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I was really impressed with the budget this year. We had some recovery on one side, so we were able to reduce rates on the other. So we have a 0.87% increase for Bayham, which when you compare with many of the other municipalities, done quite well. So don't have any real comments there.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this or draft budget? Seeing none. Short, but motion would read that the correspondence from the Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the 2025 draft budget be received for information. Mover and seconder, please.
I shouldn't do it.
You could,
I can.
you can. Deputy Mayor Weiser and Counselor Chilcott, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item C, we had some correspondence from Deb Marlatt regarding the rental rate clarity. Council's had opportunity to read this correspondence. Do you have anything to contribute towards it, Madam Clerk?
Through your worship, I was just going to note that staff would recommend receiving this for information as the questions will be discussed in the next report presentation. The only real area of action requested in the correspondence was to include the bylaw as part of the next report before your consideration. So that, of course, is for you to determine, but as outlined in the report, it was mentioned that the idea was to bring the report forward, have discussion, get direction, and a bylaw policy, whatever ends up happening, is brought back for then your consideration.
Okay, council, how do you wish to proceed? You comfortable with just receiving for information and addressing some of those concerns within the next report? That work for everyone? Okay, I'm seeing consensus on that. Perhaps that's the better way to go. All right. We have a motion that reads that corresponds from Deb Barnett regarding the rental rate clarity be received for information. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Prose and Counselor Emerson. Any further discussion?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any particular points in this letter that staff would like to address, or is that?
That's a really good question. Hoping that staff would.
Through your worship, I can walk through the questions if you wish. I do plan on addressing them all in the next report.
Okay. Do you think there's sufficient within the report coverage to put this issue to bed?
At the next meeting, there's a report coming?
No, it's coming tonight. It's the next issue.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, all right then. All right. Again, it's moved and seconded to receive for information. All in favor? That's carried. 13.2 reports to council. Report CL 1024 by Megan Elliott, clerk, regarding rates and fees update for 2025. Okay, Megan, please.
Thank you, your worship. Through you to council. Sometimes hard to look at everybody while I'm sitting here, but we'll do my best here.
There.
Yeah, I guess so. So this report is being presented to discuss updates to our rates and fees bylaw. Last year, we did a big update since it hadn't been updated since 2019. And we noted that this process would be an annual occurrence moving forward. Attached to the report is the current bylaw schedule of the fees with a color-coded system to note what is being proposed to be new, increased, updated, removed, or just increased by the consumer index price, which is 2% for next year. The report breaks down each department to provide some further background information of items that are proposed for changes. The overall lens of our review is to be in line with item 3.2 of BAM's strategic plan, which is to continually demonstrate financial responsibility to the community by investigating options for moving services to full cost recovery. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to suggest that we pause for this report to go through the departments for any questions and discussion before we get to the portion of the facility rental rates.
I don't see any disagreement around the table, so direct us to a particular page you'd like to start on.
So if you want to go to the first page of the attachment, and as noted, the color-coded system, if there's anything that you want to discuss for any possible updates that are outside the CPI or anything that's additional, we can help have that discussion. As noted in the report, there is some information, especially quite a bit surrounding the bylaw proposals. But just wanted to touch base on your thoughts. Again, the idea is what's being proposed here tonight is then going to come back next meeting in the bylaw to have an effect for January 1 of next year.
Copying down your matrix here. Okay, going through the table then. Yellow is new, is an updated. You're just basically making notes there.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So that's under refreshment vehicle licenses. All right.
Most departments aren't proposed too many changes since, again, we did a large update last year. And anywhere where there are proposed changes was from the review of where we are not getting full cost recovery from.
New is green. So for example, if we look under bylaw remedial action, remedial actions cost for a fee over $2,000, that what's that, the remedial action cost?
And what
So-
does that mean?
So we've got the bylaw enforcement officer here to provide some comment. The remedial action fee essentially applies to if we are in a situation where we have to either clean a property up, for instance, that's in contravention of property standards or lot maintenance, and the municipality has to do that, and there are essentially costs the municipality would undertake, then if a remedial action fee is over $2,000, it's the formal cost plus 15% that applies. If it's under $2,000 for remedial action, then it's cost plus $300. Essentially, the $300 is 15% of 2,000. So that's where the break even exists. But I will defer this to our bylaw enforcement officer for more context if you have any more questions.
Okay. Does that provide clarity to people that, what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, one more question.
Mhm.
Mr. Mayor. If I want to appeal, a ticket or something, it's gonna cost me $800 to appeal. What's that mean there?
That's if it goes to Superior Court of Justice. Is that right, Mark?
Your worship, the appeal fee would be for property standards committee. So right now we have currently a property standards appeal committee fee. If they don't agree with the decision of the property standards committee appeal, then it would go to Superior Court. And that's where that $800 fee is.
Okay.
There would be substantial time and effort included in this, and also resources from legal that would is the reason for the justification for it.
So I just want to see if I understand this right. I have to pay the municipality's fee to fight my ticket. Is that what you're saying? Or a fine?
So if it was a standard part one fine, and let's say you wanted to fight the standard part one fine, which is just a ticket, there would be no fee for that. If you went through the property standards committee appeal process, so you already made the appeal, you've already paid your fee amount to have the committee hear your appeal, and then the committee justifies the officer's actions and confirms that the order will upstand, then the person has an option to take it even further and apply to the Superior Court to take that to court. Basically, that they're not in agreement with the committee.
That's what that $800 is. to
Okay,
apply
I
for
get
court.
that one.
The
I get
appeal
that.
process.
That's
So
it's appeal process.
what did you have to go to the property standards committee? What do we have to pay?
If there's a, go ahead, please, Mark.
You have to pay for like an appeal. So if an officer issues an order and
Okay.
then somebody wants to make an appeal to that, there is a fee, which was already in the existing bylaw. If the property standards committee appeal, if the committee determines that the officer's order is gonna be upheld, then the applicant can still apply to Superior Court to take it to court.
That part I get. So what I'm asking is, so if there's people with limited means have to pay to get in front of the committee, it seems like an obstruction for people to have their day in court. That, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
so I don't mind the $800 thing if the board agrees with a bylaw, charge or whatever, but to hear it to the committee, why is a potentially a person of lesser means than average have to pay to get in front of that committee, which is kind of voluntary anyway?
understand, but you're probably thinking about a confusion between property standards and lawn maintenance standards, if you want to call it yard maintenance standards.
No, I'm just saying if I have to go before that committee and I have to pay,
Well,
like,
Again, a property standards, perhaps outline what a property standard violation would be.
Property standards violations are typically building related issues. So for instance, if a house doesn't have cladding, or let's say if I go to a property and there is the roof is sagging, could need a structural engineer to go in to actually do the work. Typically we've already had one of those appeals brought before the committee, and the committee upheld it. So the reason why we're having the appeal is only in relation to the property standards committee.
Well, no.
Like
but
if an officer, so for instance, an officer could issue a fine. So for instance, let's say the person was in non-compliance with the bylaw. Let's say the person was in non-compliance with the bylaw. The officer could issue a fine for failing to comply with an order, and that person would have their day in court too as well. They would not have to pay that fee. They only have to pay that fee is if they're saying they don't agree with the property standards, maybe appeal decision.
No, I was asking, what I don't understand is I was asking before the 800, I get the $800.
No, it's $500, what you're saying for the appeal. But again, I just want to make sure you're understanding, we're talking about a building safety issue.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine, but.
Not a yard maintenance. You have something?
So part of the existing property standards appeal at the 500 is to cover the cost for the committee members. And that's written in our property standards bylaw that the committee members get remuneration. And so because we have 5 members, this appeal fee just covers their time to hold the committee meeting.
Counselor Chilcott.
Thank you. That was part of what I was going to mention, that was what the cost was
Yeah.
for the first stage. But I think what Counselor Emerson is trying to get at is if somebody gets written up for a $200 fine and then they have to go to appeal and they can't afford the fine, let alone to go to appeal, where do they go? How do they appeal something that they think is incorrect? It might not
So-
be, but it could be, right? So where do they stand there? And if the appeal is not upheld, do they get their money back?
So through your worship, I think that there's a difference between a part 1 fine and an information and a summons. A part 1 fine is something that you'd be talking about for a $200 fine. Typically, they're issued for lot maintenance issues. Property standards orders, typically the only charge under property standards order is under section fail to comply with an order. So if a person fails to comply with an order, then they're automatically taken to court for that. The whole appeal process is designed to give the person an opportunity to either extend out that order time, to confirm the order, or to rescind it. If the committee confirms that the decision of it, then yeah, I think it is wasting the time of the committee and also the time of the municipality. It's something that's municipalities put it in often to avoid frivolous appeal processes that would cost the municipality substantial money.
No, sorry, I get that. $200 was just the number that came. to
Yeah,
mind.
no, I understand.
Just anything that they don't know, if it's not upheld, do they get their money back or is that a loss they have to take?
For the property standards committee appeal process, like for the
Or-
original
or even Superior
process
Court?
or in Superior Court.
I don't know these answers. I promise.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, I'll jump in on this. Generally, they're proposed as non-refundable costs because they're meant to be cost recovery for the staff time that has to go into either preparing the package and submitting it, including legal opinion, particularly for the Superior Court of Justice Property Standards decision. And as Megan noted, the property standards appeal, the $500, which is already in the bylaw and approved and not being suggested at all for increase, is strictly to remunerate the members of the property standards committee that the municipality has established under the building code.
Counselor Chilcott.
Correct. And I understand that. We all signed on that. We said, yeah, it's all good. I'm just looking at the other end of, no, we don't agree, and it goes back. Then what? They have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't,
So,
It's not refundable is what staff was saying.
but that, I know, but that's, to me, is unfair because you can,
Why?
because they didn't do anything wrong according to the appeal.
Unless
Only if
the-
it's overturned.
That's what I'm asking, is when it's overturned, not when they go and they lose, that's one thing, but if they win their argument, they still have to pay, so
Are you
they've
going to,
lost.
are you going to appeal property standards issue if it's a $200 fine?
I'm-
No.
I know, I'm saying,
If it's a $10,000 fine, perhaps.
right, I'm not saying the price, it's the what happens if they do and they win, then what?
I-
Do you understand, like, why would you
I
pay for
think,
something?
like, the question is, like, whatever, like, the little charge or whatever the fee, if you're of means, you can challenge it. If you're not of means, you can't. So that makes it unfair and not equal about other people in the community. That's what I'm saying. So if you're not of means, you can't challenge it because you don't have the money to challenge it. So you're basically saying poor people will roll over. That's what's being said because they can't. Right? So I think it's unfair to put charges that may or may not be sustainable.
Are you suggesting that it's only the poor people who may face either property standards issue?
No, I'm saying there will be, maybe, because people might not have money to make, people get in binds. I'm not saying it's the only people. I'm just saying if you happen to not be a means, you can't challenge. Or you're just gonna roll. That's what I'm afraid of.
So we're getting a little down the weeds here.
Just a final comment from myself that as Megan identified, the intent of some of these changes is to move services towards cost recovery, which council has identified as an initiative in its community strategic plan. Whether or not an appeal to the Supreme Court of Justice for property standards is either upheld or overturned, staff and legal support still have to put in the effort to provide those packages to the Superior Court to have them adjudicated at a higher level. The staff effort and the consultant effort don't disappear. So the consideration of a fee for this is in keeping with the municipality's council's desire to seek out cost recovery on certain functions. Now, if council chooses that it wants to make this fee refundable if overturned, then council has the ability to request that amendment be made. This is essentially council's bylaw, and this is not something that council is approving tonight. This has been brought forward by the clerk for comment at this point in time.
Period. I get the cost recovery. I get all that stuff, but in an effort to cost recovery, we may be making policies that are unfair. That's what I'm suggesting. And then maybe we should make that refundable if someone is proves their day in court or whatever and says, look, I didn't really do anything. You're bringing all these fees upon me and I don't think I'm wrong. So I don't think should be an issue with refunding people that are, and I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying if it happens and there's two different perspectives, obviously, or you wouldn't have got to that place in the first place.
Okay, so essentially then the cost of any of the appeals or anything should be borne by the ratepayer and not by the owner who may benefit from it.
Well, then I would think, I know what you're saying, but then on the other hand, it brings some accountability to bylaws in the first place, the initial charge. Maybe we'll think a little bit and try to work more towards negotiation than I'm not saying it happens, but it precludes that chance.
I think we'll move on. Deputy Mayor,
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Do we know how many of files, property standard files have gone to Superior Court in Bayham?
okay, we are moving on. Like I said, we're getting really into the weeds on this.
And I understand that. I'm just saying for context, I get the cost recovery piece and I think it's important to keep it in there. I'm just curious. I've never heard of one of our bylaw property standard files ever heading that direction. So
But that's not the issue that was identified. The issue that was identified was the $500 fee in the first place.
that's correct.
Right, and that there has been a property standards appeal already. Not this year. Okay. So anyway, we are
Just
getting into
one
weeds
more
here.
thing.
This is just information, people. Okay, Counselor Chilcott.
I just wanted to say that basically this should be a rare occurrence that anybody should ever,
Find themselves in a or a fine position? Yes.
and in a position where bylaw has fined somebody and it's not upheld. I think that that would be a very rare occasion, but if that occasion occurred, then we should do something. That's just,
Yeah, I agree.
If you have something to contribute from an example, to put some context into dollars and cents here, please, Mark. Otherwise,
Through your worship, so the options that he has, it's the same options that Superior Court has, which is confirm, extend, rescind, or modify an order.
Mhm.
That's the only things that the appeal committee can do, and also that the justice. can do. If a charge is to be issued, after, so the only thing the judge is gonna be doing, the committee is gonna be doing, is upholding the order. If the person to comply with the order after the fact, then the officer may issue a charge, which means that they would be in violation of the bylaw, failing to comply with an order. So they would have, if the committee provided additional time, or extended or modified the order, then they're given an opportunity to resolve the issue. Also, similarly, if the judge did that, they would also be given time to resolve the issue. And actual physical charges doesn't come into play only until after that person has failed to comply with the terms of the order. So there's not actually any monetary fines, penalties, until that person is in violation of the order. And that person does not comply with the order in the dates and times which the order required.
can we move on with the, okay. Hope that- Thank you, Mark. Carry on with your summary, please, Megan.
There any other areas in the departments that are noted for changes to discuss, or did you want me to move on to the facility rental part? Okay. So if you keep scrolling down to the last page of the attachment, we have the facility rental rates. This doesn't have the same color-coded system as the other departments because not as many changes were proposed, and rather it's just mostly housekeeping updates. So these updates are being proposed in conjunction with comments from the Stratfordville Hall Foundation since they manage our facility bookings. If you recall, during the rates and fees update last year, we ended up taking the wording surrounding facility rentals out from the body of the rates and fees bylaw and implemented a separate facility rental policy. Depending on what direction is proposed tonight, it's expected that we will result in updates to the facility rental policy to return to council for consideration next meeting as well. So for the rates, we're proposing to update the wording and times of rentals, add an item of renting the servery only, and add an item to rent the concrete pad. If council agrees to implement the wording changes for these rentals, then specifics on how to implement this will be updated in the facility rental policy. For example, having rentals referred to as a full day will need to be defined. So possibly this is a threshold of if you're over 5 hours, then it becomes the full day rental price. Specifying the use of additional hours is only if you have booked for 3 hours that you then get the next 2 for $30 each instead of $50. Defining that we do not rent half hours. If someone only wants the rental for 1.5 hours, they would pay for 2 hours, which would be $50 per hour. So all of these kind of items is what we were looking to discuss here tonight, and I would bring back to have firmer language in the policy. The report also notes a proposal for initiating a recurring recreational booking discount to help promote recreational activities in Bayham. If council is desirous, the policy would allow a $50 reduction to be applied to main hall bookings that are more than 1 hour for recreation and recurring. For example, a group wishes to book the main hall for yoga once a week for 2 hours. As this is recreation and recurring, then each of their bookings would receive a $50 reduction. Again, if this is something that you wish to consider, the details will be in the policy for you to consider next meeting. Overall, with all of our facility rental rates, I do want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that volunteers are who manage these bookings and do all of the work to set up and take down tables and chairs for every event. BAM saves thousands of dollars by these volunteers, and we're very thankful for their dedicated service. We all work together to provide the best opportunities we can for our community, and without the arrangement with the SHF, BAM bookings would not probably be a function that we could offer with the current staffing complement. So I just wanted to note that, and we can discuss rental rates.
All right, thank you, Megan. Discussion.
Through you, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Emerson.
So like say it's a 3-hour rental rate, just to be clear. Does that mean the moment the lock goes in the door and it's open till the moment it comes out? And then what happens if you're like 10 minutes over? It seems like some of that want to know exactly. That's the first question. Then the second question is, if it's a full day, someone rents for a day and there's no other chance to use that facility for anything else, what do we care if it's 7.5 hours or 8.5 hours or 4.5 hours? So like, I don't understand where some of these issues are coming from, like.
Good point. I think what they're trying to say for a full day is anything defined as more than 5 hours. I think that's what they're trying to say, trying to
Okay.
put some parameters and measurements on it. If it's a 3-hour rental, say, okay, so you got an event that starts at 6, gonna be over at 9. There's your 3 hours. If it happens to go an extra hour, well, it's $30 more. I don't think it bothers. I'm not sure that you want to worry about setup and takedown because it's volunteers that's doing it. You're not paying municipal staff to do it.
Yeah, I was looking for clarity.
I think so. Yeah. Questions, comments? Just looking back at the last letter, want to make sure that you've covered off your explanation, the questions that were asked. Like, I'm the one that made the comment about setup and takedown. I decide whether council agrees or not. If you were paying staff, then I could see it. You want to make sure cover your costs.
I mean, and there again, there is cost and recovery, but it is a community building. And there is some benefit for tax and ratepayers to use our resources without being billed every last nickel for it, right? You know? So as always, there's a trade-off and stuff.
Additional comments? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Previous councils, in previous rates and fees, we had a similar system set up for recurring with reduced rates. I'm just curious, do you remember, Mr. Mayor, what that looked like? Is it similar to what's being proposed?
It's quite a while ago since.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I
The
was,
Hall Foundation, or excuse me, the Hall committees
right.
had been active since 2014.
I knew there was, at one time, community services got a discounted rate.
Mm.
But we did away with that in, I believe, 2018. It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Megan?
Through your worship, there is still currently in the facility rental policy that there's the community partner discount. So there's still, that exists currently right now, which is a $50 deduction. And that's still proposed to stay in the policy. And then this was a secondary layer of a possible reduction opportunity to promote recreational bookings in our facility.
Mhm.
Okay, that's not reflected in your chart though, is it?
No, it's within the policy itself.
But we're gonna have to see the policy to see the full
Yeah.
code deal.
Whereas, like, it's not.
We
Yeah.
don't have it. What would you like to do, council? Do you want to have them bring a policy forward? We can make a decision at that time?
Just for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have the full picture?
Yes, so again, I just want to reiterate, we do have a facility rental policy and we passed it last year at this time. So it does exist and
Mhm.
available online. We reference it all the time. So I apologize, I didn't attach it to the report, but it exists. And then whatever from our discussion here today will be some updates to that policy.
Can you, in the proposed policy coming forward, can you keep the column of the current and then the proposed fee? You're gonna bring us a table, aren't you? How are we gonna compare and contrast?
Sorry, I'm a little confused with the
So am I.
question because the policy isn't about the rates. The policy is about how things are applied, how the rental process happens. So there's two pieces here. So we have, right now we're talking about rates and fees that there's a whole bunch of items per department. And then the last page is about the facility rentals. And so everything outside of the facility rentals, let's just talk about all the other departments. That, including language about that, is all within the rates and fees bylaw. The rental rates are also in the rates and fees bylaw, but how they are applied is in the rental facility policy. So right now, what's being presented to you is the comparison of the money aspect to be brought back in the rates and fee bylaw. And then the second layer of the facility rental policy will then have updates because we've now proposed to have some different wording and different items. So it's basically like, here's your price and this is how we do it. And it's two different documents.
Council, I guess the way to approach it then, are you satisfied with the proposed rate increases on the departments?
Okay. I had to read the, had to read the motion.
Just taking it one piece at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some concerns over the one portion up there. Had in the, we're talking about the property standards appeal, but that was already existing, the 500. So dealing with the proposed changes to the rates and fees. That's the question before you. Either a nod of the head or a shake of the head. We can move forward.
And just,
I'm not calling the motion bad.
no, I know. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just one clarification. And I apologize, I didn't ask the question before Ed left, but under the water wastewater, the section there, I'm assuming, and that's why I'm asking the question, because I know better than to assume. But these are cost recovery increases, correct? This is specifically cost recovery. Yeah, okay. I assumed that, but I just wanted to clarify. The rates and fee update.
Okay. Seeing no objection, let's move on then. The next part of the question is, before I ask about the bylaw being brought forward, what about the amendments to facility rental policy? what Megan outlined. Breaking down into different more refinements. Does that work for people? I would like to see also, of course, it's in the policy, but I'd like to see what the community group. It'll be in the policy, the discount. Any further questions before I read the motion? Thank you, Megan. The motion would read that report CL 1024 regarding rates and fees update for the 2025 be received for information. And that the proposed changes to the rates and fees contained within this report be approved as presented. And that the appropriate rates and fees by law be brought forward for enactment at the December 19th, 2024 regular meeting of council. And that amendments to the facility rental policy be brought forward for council's consideration. We have a mover and seconder. Councillor Chilcott. Deputy Mayor Weisler. All in favor? Okay, it's carried. Thank you. Item B, report CL 1124 by Megan Elliott, clerk, regarding hours of operation lunch hour closure. Megan, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to council. This report's being presented tonight to recommend a policy change surrounding the office's hours of operation. The current hours are Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, including lunch coverage. As Bayham operates with a lean staff complement, trying to ensure adequate coverage has become seemingly difficult, especially from about 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. with the need to stagger lunches. The senior management team has had numerous discussions on how we can improve coverage to allow for there always to be one member of the finance team and one manager in the office at all times. Through our discussions, we found that if we were closed from 12 to 1 for lunch and streamlined all lunches to be taken at that time, this would benefit our level of service from 8:30 to 12 and 1 to 4:30. To determine if this would be a viable option, lunch hour activity was tracked over a 6-week period, including a tax due date. The results appear to have a minimal effect to lunchtime visitors if we were to close during that hour, with only averaging 1.2 visitors and 2.3 phone calls. Staff have discussed implementation of office lunch hour closure to be in effect as of January 1, 2025, should council be desirous of amending the personnel policy manual to reflect the updated hours of operation. I'll leave it with you for discussion.
All right, thank you, Megan. Comments, questions? Councillor Emerson, please.
Through you, I can appreciate the concerns about staffing phones and all that kind of stuff, but it is public service, and I would say that maybe those 3.5 people that reached out to the office in the lunch hour times, that's an important part of their day and schedule too. So once again, we're weighing off resources against public need a bit. So I don't want to tell you, but I think it's maybe important to at least those 3.5 people that the office is open at that time.
Okay, thank you for that. Megan, is the automated phone up and running?
At the moment, it is not. We do regular reception at the moment, but that could be an option to implement. One other point that I just wanted to respond to Councillor Emerson is because, again, of our small staffing complement, a lot of our roles are only done by one person. So even during that lunch hour span or whenever there's someone out, maybe those 3 people at lunch hour, they might just be going through somebody else that's just a message taker anyways, if that person's out. So if we have dedicated times where we know everyone's there in this chunk and this chunk, then there's no just message taking by other staff.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, in response to that, I would say maybe there is times of the day that's the only time that person can go to the phone because they're working or they're otherwise disposed. So I think they can have access even business hours is difficult for people to make. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of important. And as far as the phone system go, I thought we approved that last year to keep people out of task and we're not even using it. So we're going to this step without even using the first step. So why do we spend the money on the phone system if we're not using it? That's a question, actually.
Thank you for that. No, it's a valid question, Councilor Emerson. I appreciate that. That's where I was going. Point being that if we had the automated system, which was asked for, granted, and if it could cover a loss, or at least allow voicemail directed. Right? Yeah,
That was to
That
keep
was-
people from being pulled off task, if I remember right.
correct. Yeah. So. Additional comments, questions? Counselor Chilcott.
Thank you. Did you notice whether there was another hour of the day, like say from 11:30 to 12:30 or 12:30 to 1:30, that received less people, or did you probably didn't take that into consideration? I don't know. Just thinking if there was a different time slot that you could be closed. Might be.
Lunch hour.
Just slightly, because we don't want to impede your lunch hours either, right? You deserve to have your lunch at a regular time every day, just like everyone else, so.
Through your worship, our data was only tracked from the 12 to 1 period.
Well,
Counselor
Second-
Chilcott.
Second question, out of the day, so that it's 3 people per day, is that how,
3.5.
how many people throughout the day actually came during that day? Like, on average, how many people a day do you see come in the office, you know? I'm just wondering if that's 1% of the people, 0.5% of the people, or 100% of the people that come at lunch hour.
I don't believe I have that answer.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of.
Well, that'd be interesting. Maybe before we make it through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe before we make a decision or anything on that, we might want to find out what our actual time budgets and people coming to the office and calling is. It'd be really nice to see a little thing. Maybe there is a spot in the day that's not really displaced lunch hour that we can accommodate maybe a little better.
And not them having their lunch at 9 a.m. either. That's, you know, that work for both.
Okay, council, what would you like to do? Do you want to defer? I need a mover and seconder to defer. Okay, Counselor Froese and Counselor Emerson. Would you like a report back?
About January.
Wow,
That's
holidays.
Oh,
I'd wait
Recommendation?
at least February, March.
Mr. Mayor, I would suggest if you're looking at data collection over the course of the day, we'd have to have discussion with the senior team to get frontline staff on board, which is with assisting with the collection. We're probably looking at a report in March.
All right, so defer to future meeting, say, second quarter? All in favor of that? That is carried. Thank you. Report CAO 5524 by Thomas Thayer, CAO regarding disposition of parts 1 and 2, Plan 11R 10901 John Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report comes back to council after a couple of years. We had a discussion in 2022, mid 2022, about disposition of the north portion of John Street in Vienna in two parts to the abutting landowners. Council did provide this direction, and we did proceed with public comment period for stop up, close, and convey. After that time, we had continued with discussions with the abutting landowners. One of those landowners is seeking to submit a plan of subdivision and was working out some of the concerns with the other abutting landowner, which we were waiting for some form of resolution before bringing this back to council. Now, we understand that one landowner is finalizing their plan of subdivision. So we are ready to move forward with the process. So this report is to recommend to council that a bylaw be presented to stop up and close parts 1 and 2 on Plan 11R 10901. Part 1 is to be conveyed to the landowner to the west, Part 2 landowner to the east. And we're currently reviewing draft agreements of purchase and sale for both parts. Once we have this finalized and circulated out to the purchasers, solicitors will bring back a report likely at the next meeting to formally present the bylaws for conveyance of these parts. So really, this is just a formality, rebooting a process from a couple of years ago to stop up and close parts 1 and 2. Mr. Mayor, I'll leave it with you and council for any discussion.
Thank you very much. Council, interested in proceeding? Any questions? We have a motion that reads the report CAO 5524 regarding disposition of parts 1 and 2, Plan 11R 10901 John Street, Vienna, be received for information. And that parts 1 and 2 on Plan 11R 10901 being part of John Street, Vienna, be stopped up and closed and prepared for conveyance to the abutting landowners at the value approved by council, and that the appropriate bylaws to stop up and close parts 1 and 2 on Plan 11R 10901 being part of John Street, Vienna, be brought forward for council's consideration. Before I call the question, just a question for staff. The value is the one that we approved 2 years ago?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a mover and seconder? Councilor Emerson, Councilor Froze. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to item D, report CAO 5624 by Thomas Thayer, CAO, regarding the 2025 insurance renewal. Please, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So council will recall that November of last year, I brought a report forward regarding the award of the RFP that we had put out for insurance and risk management services. We received 2 bidders, Intact Public Entities and Marsh Canada. Ultimately, council chose to proceed with the 2024 municipal insurance program through Marsh Canada. So in August of 2024, we engaged Marsh Canada regarding our 2025 renewal and request for updated documentation. So in October, we did provide this updated documentation along with requested follow-up information so we could receive the quote for the premium for 25. We received this on December the 3rd. The quote is $220,387 plus applicable taxes. This equates to a 5% increase, which is $10,568 in nominal funds over 2024. And this is inclusive of cyber coverage for the municipality up to an aggregate limit, which is something that municipalities increasingly have difficulty getting their hands on. So we're lucky that we have a quote for this and coverage for this. The nominal changes are identified in the report, and they are general liability and property coverage. All other coverage, including cyber, volunteer, out-of-office medical, counselor accident, crime, and the policy fee as a base all remain consistent with 2024 nominal levels. And while the municipality's loss ratio and claims history remains high overall, there were no new claims filed in 2024, which should improve BAM's risk in this regard into 2025. The 2025 program is consistent with the 2024 RFP award, including updates for inflation and revisions to auto, building, and contents as requested by the insurer. And there were no significant changes to coverage aside from a change to the cyber insurance for an aggregate limit rather than solely a per occurrence coverage. Based upon this, staff recommend obtaining the 2025 insurance program from Marsh Canada. The recommendation is before council, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas, for that report. Any questions from council? I know it is what it is. When I look back 18 years ago, we're looking at an $80,000 policy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, through you, I do have a general question though.
Yes, please, Counselor Emerson.
Is it like car insurance that like a speeding ticket's on for 3 year, an accident for 5? I was just kind of wondering how far we have to go before our rating gets improved.
So through you, Mr. Mayor to Council, when considering a corporate insurance renewal, they consider a 10-year loss ratio. So we have to pull from Marsh, and then we had intact public entities prior to that. So we still have to pull their loss ratio as well. But long story short, it is 10 years.
Got a ways. Yeah. Okay, any additional questions? Part of it is that you have very few players in the municipal insurance world. That's one thing, and it is property values that's driving it. Yeah, we had a fairly good year with no claims this past year, but that's a rare thing. It just. Okay, any other questions, comments? Motion reads a report CAO 5624 regarding insurance 2025 insurance renewal be received for information. And that the 2025 municipal insurance program be obtained from Marsh Canada Limited at a total premium of $220,387 plus applicable taxes. Who wants to, Deputy Mayor wants to move that and Councillor Chilcott wants to second it.
I don't want.
Get
it,
the
but-
pain over.
But we will.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. No, it's not palatable, but it is the environment we're operating. Brings us to section 14, the bylaws. We have 3. Bylaw number 2024-064, bylaw to provide for drainage works in the municipality of Bayham in the county of Elgin, known as the North Street Drain. Bylaw number 2024-071, being a bylaw to stop up and close part of John Street in municipality of Bayham in the county of Elgin, designated as parts 1 and 2 on the registered plan 11R 10901. And bylaw number 2024-072, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2024-050, being a bylaw to appoint municipal officers and employees for the municipality of Bayham. Any questions on the bylaws? Okay. I need a mover and seconder for the following, that bylaws number 2024-062 be given a third and final reading. We're doing this in 2 parts, are we? Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Deputy Mayor Weiser will first, we'll move that, and Councilor Pros will second it. It's been a long day. I've been in council sessions all day, you know? So all in favor for that? Thank you. All right. The second motion is that bylaw number 2024-071 and 2024-072 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. How about a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Emerson, thank you very much. And I think Deputy Mayor Weiser wants to second that. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any unfinished business? Other business. We are not doing an in-camera session today. Or game on tonight?
5 minutes.
It's go time. Okay, let's deal with the confirming bylaw then. Mover and seconder for the following, that confirming bylaw number 2024-073 be read first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover and seconder, Councilor Emerson, Councilor Chilcott, all in favor. And finally, the adjournment motion, that council meeting be adjourned at 8:24 p.m. Councilor Froese will move, Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor. Carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for attending the special session this evening. 1 more to go next week before ho ho. Yes. See you again on the 19th.